Welcome to Neville Explanation, your destination for exploring the profound teachings of Neville Goddard, the law of assumption, manifestation, and the power of your subconscious mind. What you call your reality today is not the final truth. It is simply the reflection of the thoughts, beliefs, and assumptions you carried in the past. If you continue accepting the same beliefs, you will continue experiencing the same patterns. But the moment you choose a new assumption and begin living from it, your experience begins to change. The world you see around you is like a delayed reflection. It is showing you the remains of previous thoughts, old emotional states, and past expectations. It is not a prediction of what is coming. It is only a picture of what has already been created. The greatest mistake you can make is looking at your current circumstances and deciding that they define you. What appears in front of your eyes is not the complete story. The real truth exists within your imagination, within the mental image you choose to accept as your reality. Your imagination is the place where new experiences begin. The scene you repeatedly return to, the feeling you consistently embrace, and the story you tell yourself internally become the foundation of what eventually appears externally. Your outer world always follows your inner state, but it does so with a delay. This means that if you want a different tomorrow, you cannot allow today's circumstances to control your emotions. You must stop letting the current picture decide what you believe is possible. Reality will always try to convince you that it has the final word. It will show you limitations, delays, and reasons why something cannot happen. It will demand your attention and attempt to pull you back into old patterns. But your present reality only knows your past. It can only show you what has already been created. It cannot see the future you are now building. You are the one who chooses what comes next. So choose wisely. Assume that what you desire is already yours. Enter the feeling of having already received it. Walk through your day as the person who already lives in that reality. When you wake up, feel the satisfaction of your desire being fulfilled. When you sleep, rest in the confidence that it is already yours. Allow your inner assumption to become stronger than temporary appearances. At first, your senses may disagree. They may show you an empty bank account, a relationship that has not arrived yet, or circumstances that do not match your vision. But understand this, these are not permanent truths. They are simply the leftover images of an old state of consciousness. Do not fight what you see. Do not become frustrated by it. Simply recognize that it belongs to the past and no longer represents who you are becoming. Your responsibility is not to repair the old picture. Your responsibility is to create a new one. Continue returning to the vision of the person you want to be. Continue feeling the emotions of the life you desire. Continue living from the end result instead of reacting to the current situation. With persistence, the old circumstances lose their power. The previous reality begins to disappear, and the new reality you have accepted within yourself begins to take form. Your only task is to remain faithful to the vision. Everything else is simply a distraction. These circumstances you experience today are not a definition of who you are. They are only reflections of who you once believed yourself to be. Every situation, every condition, and every experience you see around you is the result of previous thoughts, emotions, and assumptions that were accepted in the past. Your present reality is simply yesterday's beliefs appearing in physical form. Just as a shadow follows behind the person who creates it, your outer world follows behind your inner state. The shadow does not move first. It only responds to the movement of the person creating it. In the same way, your circumstances are always responding to the thoughts and feelings you have already impressed upon your mind. This means your current situation is not telling you who you are. It is showing you who you were. The conditions around you are delayed reflections, old messages, and outdated versions of yourself. They are like an old photograph that captures a moment that has already passed. If you continue judging your future based on that photograph, you will continue living inside a story that no longer belongs to you. The key is to stop allowing the present moment to control your inner world. Most people look at their circumstances and decide how they should feel. If things are going well, they feel confident. If things appear difficult, they lose hope. But the conscious creator understands that feelings are not created by circumstances. Circumstances are created by feelings. Your emotional state is the blueprint for what comes next. When something appears that you do not want, you do not need to panic. You do not need to fight it, fear it, or give it endless attention. It is simply an old pattern completing itself. Think of it like receiving a letter that was written weeks ago. You cannot change the contents of that letter because it has already been sent. But if you want to receive a different message in the future, you must write a new one today. Your inner state is that new message. The wise creator does not become trapped by what is visible. They understand that the external world is always catching up to the internal world. Instead of reacting emotionally to what they dislike, they redirect their attention toward the reality they have chosen. They stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" They begin asking, "What reality am I choosing now?" This shift changes everything. You no longer become controlled by temporary conditions because you understand they are not permanent. You no longer chase external changes desperately because you know the true transformation begins within. The outside world is only a reflection. The real work happens inside your mind. When you release attachment to the old version of life, you create space for something new. You do not need to hate the past or struggle against what has already appeared. Simply acknowledge that it was created from an earlier state and allow yourself to move forward. The old reality is not your enemy. It is only evidence of where you once placed your attention. Thank it for showing you what you have outgrown and then choose something different. Return again and again to the state of the person you want to become. Think from that identity, feel from that identity, make decisions from that identity. Eventually, the outer world must reflect the inner transformation that has already taken place. Reality was never the creator, it was only the reflection. Everything you experience in life begins in the unseen world before it ever appears in the physical world. Before a dream becomes a reality, before a goal becomes an achievement, and before a change becomes visible, it first exists as a thought, a belief, and an inner assumption. The invisible always comes before the visible. Your mind is like fertile soil, and every assumption you repeatedly accept is a seed planted within it. Whatever you continue to think, feel, and believe begins to take root. Whether you plant seeds of confidence or seeds of fear, they will eventually produce results. The life you experience is the harvest of the thoughts you have consistently nourished. Many people make the mistake of believing only what they can see. They judge their future based on their current circumstances and forget that everything visible was once invisible. A tree does not appear the moment you see it. Long before it stands tall, it existed as a small seed hidden beneath the ground. The same principle applies to every desire you have. Your success, your relationships, your confidence, your abundance, and your happiness do not suddenly appear by accident. They begin the moment you accept them internally as possible and begin living from that state. This is why your inner conversation matters. Every thought you attach emotion to becomes an instruction sent to your subconscious mind. Every belief you repeatedly accept becomes a direction you move toward. If you constantly focus on fear, disappointment, and limitation, you continue strengthening those experiences. Fear grows when you repeatedly give it your attention. Doubt becomes stronger when you constantly revisit it. But you always have the ability to choose a different seed. You can decide to plant the assumption that your desire is already fulfilled. You can choose to see yourself as the person who already possesses what you want. When doubt appears, you do not need to fight it. Simply refuse to give it your energy. When circumstances seem opposite to your desire, remind yourself that appearances are only the remains of previous assumptions. Do not allow temporary conditions to convince you that your vision is impossible. A seed does not become a tree overnight. Growth happens beneath the surface before anything becomes visible. In the same way, your new reality may already be forming even when you cannot see evidence of it yet. Your job is not to constantly dig up the seed and question whether it is growing. Your job is to nurture it with belief, patience, and faith. The person who keeps checking for proof often delays their own progress because they are returning to doubt again and again. Instead, trust the process. Water your chosen reality with positive thoughts. Strengthen it with gratitude. Protect it from the constant influence of fear and frustration. The harvest comes when the seed has been given the right conditions to grow. You cannot force a flower to bloom faster by pulling on its petals. Growth happens naturally when the environment supports it. Your desires work the same way. Once you understand this, you stop seeing yourself as a victim of circumstances. You stop believing that life is something happening to you. You realize that your inner world is the starting point of everything you experience. The moment you accept something as true within yourself, you begin the process of bringing it into your life. So stop giving your energy to the things you no longer want. Stop watering the seeds of fear, frustration, and limitation. Instead, protect the vision you have chosen. Nurture it with faith. Strengthen it with imagination. And trust that what is invisible today is already preparing to become visible tomorrow. The moment you decide what you truly desire, your role is not to search endlessly for proof. Your role is to step into the feeling that it is already accomplished. Many people make the mistake of constantly looking at the outside world for confirmation. They watch for signs, measure progress, and question whether their desire is getting closer. But this keeps them trapped in a state of waiting. And when you live in the feeling of waiting, you continue creating more reasons to wait. The conscious creator understands that the journey begins within. Instead of asking when will this happen, they begin living from the state of it is already done. You must mentally become the person who already has what you desire. If you desire abundance, begin thinking from the identity of someone who is abundant. If you desire love, begin feeling like someone who is already loved and valued. If you desire success, begin carrying yourself as the person who has already achieved it. Your reality does not respond to what you want someday. It responds to the state you occupy now. This does not mean pretending or forcing fake emotions. It means choosing an inner identity that matches the experience you want to create. Ask yourself, if this desire were already mine, how would I think? How would I move through my day? How would I speak to myself? How would I treat others? Then begin living from those answers. Your outer circumstances may not immediately change. The old reality may still appear around you because it is the result of previous assumptions. But do not allow the delay to convince you that nothing is happening. The physical world is always catching up with the inner world. A seed does not become a tree instantly after being planted. There is a period where growth happens beneath the surface before anyone can see the results. Your assumptions work in the same way. The inner transformation comes first. The outer reflection follows. Do not wait for success before feeling successful. Do not wait for love before feeling worthy of love. Do not wait for abundance before feeling abundant. The feeling comes first. The evidence comes afterward. Your mind is the director, and your physical world is the stage. When you accept a new role internally, your actions, decisions, and expectations begin to align with that version of yourself. Eventually, the world begins reflecting the identity you have chosen. The key is consistency. You cannot spend 1 hour believing in your desired reality and then spend the rest of the day returning to fear, doubt, and old limitations. You must repeatedly return to the state you have chosen until it becomes natural. The moment you decide what you truly desire, your role is not to search endlessly for proof. Your role is to step into the feeling that it is already accomplished. Many people make the mistake of constantly looking at the outside world for confirmation. They watch for signs, measure progress, and question whether their desire is getting closer. But this keeps them trapped in a state of waiting. And when you live in the feeling of waiting, you continue creating more reasons to wait. The conscious creator understands that the journey begins within. Instead of asking, when will this happen? They begin living from the state of it is already done. You must mentally become the person who already has what you desire. If you desire abundance, begin thinking from the identity of someone who is abundant. If you desire love, begin feeling like someone who is already loved and valued. If you desire success, begin carrying yourself as the person who has already achieved it. Your reality does not respond to what you want someday. It responds to the state you occupy now. This does not mean pretending or forcing fake emotions. It means choosing an inner identity that matches the experience you want to create. Ask yourself, if this desire were already mine, how would I think? How would I move through my day? How would I speak to myself? How would I treat others? Then begin living from those answers. Your outer circumstances may not immediately change. The old reality may still appear around you because it is the result of previous assumptions. But do not allow the delay to convince you that nothing is happening. The physical world is always catching up with the inner world. A seed does not become a tree instantly after being planted. There is a period where growth happens beneath the surface before anyone can see the results. Your assumptions work in the same way. The inner transformation comes first. The outer reflection follows. Do not wait for success before feeling successful. Do not wait for love before feeling worthy of love. Do not wait for abundance before feeling abundant. The feeling comes first. The evidence comes afterward. Your mind is the director, and your physical world is the stage. When you accept a new role internally, your actions, decisions, and expectations begin to align with that version of yourself. Eventually, the world begins reflecting the identity you have chosen. The key is consistency. You cannot spend 1 hour believing in your desired reality and then spend the rest of the day returning to fear, doubt, and old limitations. You must repeatedly return to the state you have chosen until it becomes natural. If you notice yourself falling back into old patterns, do not criticize yourself. Simply return to the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Return to the version of yourself who already has what you desire. The person who lives from the end does not chase life. They allow life to respond to the state they have accepted within. You are not someone trying to become that person in the future. You are becoming that person now. And as you remain faithful to that inner state, the outer world has no choice but to reflect the change that has already taken place within you. More longer paragraph part 4, extended version. The moment you decide what you truly want in life, your responsibility changes. You are no longer someone desperately searching for signs, waiting for permission, or hoping that something outside of you will finally make your dream possible. Your task is to enter the state of the person who already possesses what they desire. The greatest shift happens when you stop seeing your dream as something distant and begin experiencing it as something that already exists within you. Most people delay their own transformation because they are constantly looking at the external world for evidence. They check their circumstances every day and ask, has anything changed yet? They measure their progress by what they can see, touch, and experience physically. But this habit keeps them connected to the old reality. When you constantly search for proof, you are silently affirming that you do not have what you desire yet. The feeling of waiting creates more waiting. The feeling of already having creates movement. To live from the end means to stop approaching your desire as something you are trying to obtain and start accepting it as something that is already yours in consciousness. It means becoming familiar with the feeling of fulfillment before the physical evidence appears. You are not pretending. You are not escaping reality. You are choosing the inner state from which a new reality can be created. Imagine the person who already has everything they desire. How do they think? How do they speak? How do they carry themselves? How do they react when challenges appear? They do not move through life from fear and desperation. They move with confidence, peace, and certainty because their identity is already connected to what they believe is possible. This is the state you must begin to embody. If you desire financial freedom, stop identifying with limitation and begin thinking from abundance. If you desire a loving relationship, stop seeing yourself as someone searching for love and begin seeing yourself as someone who is naturally worthy of love. If you desire success, stop waiting for success to prove that you are capable and begin living from the belief that success is already part of who you are. Your external circumstances are not the creator of your identity. Your identity is the creator of your experience. The world does not determine who you are. Your assumption about yourself determines the world you experience. At first, this new way of thinking may feel uncomfortable. Your senses may argue against it. They may remind you of everything that appears missing. They may show you circumstances that seem completely opposite to your chosen vision. But remember, what you see today is not the beginning of creation. It is the result of previous thoughts and beliefs that have already been set into motion. The present moment is often the reflection of yesterday's consciousness. Do not allow an old reflection to convince you that a new reality is impossible. When you look into a mirror and dislike what you see, you do not try to change the reflection directly. You understand that the reflection changes only when the person standing in front of the mirror changes. Your outer world works the same way. The physical world is the mirror, and your inner state is the person standing before it. Change the inner image and the reflection must eventually follow. This is why your emotional state is so powerful. Every day you are choosing the reality you continue to strengthen. Every thought, every feeling, and every assumption is like a command being impressed upon your subconscious mind. When you repeatedly feel successful, you strengthen the identity of success. When you repeatedly feel loved, you strengthen the identity of someone who experiences love. When you repeatedly feel grateful and abundant, you create a mental environment where abundance can naturally unfold. The challenge is remaining faithful when there is no immediate evidence. Anyone can believe when everything is working perfectly. True persistence appears when circumstances challenge your belief. When the old reality tries to convince you that nothing is changing, that is the moment to return to your chosen state. Do not fight the old circumstances. Do not give them emotional power. Simply recognize that they belong to an earlier version of yourself. You do not need to destroy the past. You only need to stop identifying with it. The old reality can remain for a moment, but it no longer controls you. You have chosen a new direction. You have planted a new seed. Now your responsibility is to protect that seed with faith, imagination, and consistent belief.